night. Let's see if we can make this work. I'm actually on TikTok, so I'm going to test it and I'm going to see if I'm actually on TikTok. But this is the second episode of UNKNOT, which is my new live call-in space to unwind your complex thoughts and emotions and find some clarity in these really tough times. But I want to see if I can get if we're on TikTok, I got to make sure that everything's working. Is it on?
There it is.
It's on. Nice. Okay. Very cool. And I can monitor my chat on a different window. This is good. This is very, very good. I'm excited. So now that we're on, it always takes a few minutes for everybody to kind of get in here. And yeah. Hint for you, Andy. Anytime we want to message or anytime you're going to put links or anything in the chat, you have to see who you're messaging it to. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I'm now getting comments on TikTok. So we shall see. Hopefully this works for a moment. At least for tonight, we're going to be live on TikTok this way, which is very interesting. I hope it stays. I hope it works. If you are watching over on TikTok, let us know. And if you can hear okay and everything's good on your end, let us know so that we know what's going on. Hey, Go Live Vegas. I reconnected Restream. Let's see if it holds tonight or beyond tonight. I just started going live. Like, literally no one's in here to be giving gifts away yet. And we're just beginning. So, anywho, y'all, I can see 5 of you in the room. Say hello if you are watching so that Andy and I know you're here. Again, this is the second episode of UNKNOT. We're on YouTube, we are on Facebook, both my personal page, my business page, and then YouTube, both my channels. And we're also on TikTok. So yeah, I'm gonna turn this music off because it's annoying me beyond belief. It's a little too mellow. What's up, Mr. Andy?
Well, it's week 2, and the time between the two shows it's been a rather interesting week, has it not? And it's the end of the month. I cannot believe we've got February starting tomorrow, Groundhog Day on Monday, and there are certain times that it feels like Groundhog Day almost every single day.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, right now, this year, it's most definitely a little bit of a different ride. So
that's being very nice about it. There are almost no words to describe how weird it feels sometimes.
Yeah, but for things to change, they have to be different. Like, we know this, right?
Yeah. No, this is true. I mean, no one grows from their comfort zone.
No, we never do. All right, TikTok. I see you guys in the room. We've got some people watching, and all I can see is the chat. But if you are watching live, please put in a comment. Just say hi, if nothing else, because I'm wanting to make sure that I can monitor the chat over on TikTok as well as on Facebook. I did not promo this episode for whatever reason. I almost was thinking about not doing it tonight, but I am here, and I'm here for you all. I told Andy, I was like, I don't know, Andy. I don't know if I feel like it. It's been one of those very unmotivational kind of feelings lately. And then all day today, I've had to put together the astrology and look at it for February for Hidden Wisdom. And it's just been one of those busy weeks.
Why don't we start there? The end of something, which is the end of January, the beginning of February, and there are some benchmarks you're talking about that we should, if nothing else, look at or look forward to and be aware of as we go into February.
Can I pat myself on the back about the government shutdown? I predicted. I said January was going to be a shit show. It has been a shit show.
Yep.
I said we're going to have a government shutdown. get ready for it. We had that. And yeah, every day in the month of January, it has been one thing after another. And today, for whatever reason, the energy kind of feels strange as we are sitting in the last day of the month. How have you
Is
felt
it
today? Because you work with the public on the weekends.
is it stranger than normal for you? Today, uh, it's funny because when my shift changes, when I'm getting ready to go, and the next e-commerce guy comes in, the first thing he asks me is, "How was it today?" And I said, "Well, it was busy, but it didn't feel that way."
Yeah.
And that was the best way I could describe it. Because if you look at my numbers were good, but I didn't feel like I normally feel. So I was wondering to myself, the overthinker that I am I finally beginning to slow things down and get more control over my circumstances to where I'm actually calmer than I used to be? Because on busy days, because they're busy, um, of course, the adrenaline flows, and you get amped up and you have a tendency to be a little more, um, what's the word? Well, just you have more energy. But today, it was, yeah, it
Today
seemed
was a
okay.
weird day. I was
Yeah.
kind of feeling draggy all day. Um,
Well, you're cold. It was 75 degrees today here in Las Vegas.
I know. I know.
It's just,
Part of it was like my allergies were acting up. I had to go find my allergy medication because my head was feeling very weird. But I did take off and go to the Asian store to get the stuff to make my Chinese tea this afternoon. And it on the road, it almost, and this, okay, let me just tell you guys this. Like for the last few days, it has been a weird, displaced, disorienting feeling. Like, I don't necessarily feel like I'm completely in my body. It's almost like part of me is not here when I go out and about. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Like it's
uh,
surreal. It doesn't, things don't feel real. And I know that is going to intensify as we get farther into the month of February and actually March as well. We've got a lot of funky energy with Pisces coming in, but we have a bunch of planets lining up in the sign of Aries in the month of February as well. So it's going to be a weird time. I think altogether it's a weird time, but just the feeling is almost disjointed, disconnected. Does that make sense?
that's probably the best way to describe it, just because I don't I wouldn't describe the way I feel or see things as almost an out of body experience, but I think things are slowing down for me.
Mm.
And
Why do you think that is?
trying to figure that I don't know whether it's, in the two biggest episodes in my life where I sort of describe I was the calmness amidst the swirl, were the times where, my mom passed away, and Maylee's circumstances, that, standing in the middle of an emergency room where everybody's, running around like crazy, and I'm just sort of standing there, and everything seems to move in slow motion, and there was a calmness about me in both instances that my sisters describe, because they're maybe a little more emotional than I am. I don't necessarily think so. I just don't show it. They do. They're much more effusive about
Mm.
being open that way. Um, and that's sort of the way I'm beginning to feel right now, that there's a calmness about me, but when I get that calm, I begin to worry.
Why?
Um, that's the question I haven't been able to answer yet.
How is it different? Like the calm, how is that different than your normal day to day?
The normal day to day, because so much of it is highly repetitive, I can almost do it with my eyes closed. the calmness that I'm feeling seems, because it doesn't happen as frequently because of the all the repetitive stuff. It seems odd, or I guess once again the word is weird,
Mm,
that amidst all this chaos and all the stuff that's going on in the outside world, I'm sort of sitting here going, okay, well, what do I do now?
interesting.
And I don't, is it
So maybe
because,
it's a recalibration because I kind of feel like a lot of us, and I don't know if that's the right word, but it is what we're doing right now. Like a lot of us are recalibrating our energy, how we're moving forward through this big mess we're walking in right now.
right?
Um, and I think you and I talked about too, like there needs to be kind of a new calibration as to what is it we want as a society for human beings moving forward.
Yeah.
Like everybody's trying to answer the same questions right now. What do we do, especially here in the US? But it's not just here. This is a global thing. You know, you look at what's going on in the UK, you look at what's going on in Iran and Palestine and
I mean,
um,
we're talking
every
about
country.
we're talking about human struggles, and that's universal.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah,
Do
and
you feel like you're recalibrating though? Do you feel like that's
I
what you're
think
having to do?
to use the phrase for the title of the show, I think I'm trying to unknot a whole lot of stuff that, and most of it, obviously tied to my patterns for the last 66 years. Yeah, so I think I'm trying to recalibrate, and maybe that's the best word, is I'm trying to figure out um, the whys,
Mm,
and so that I can, as you like to say, I'm trying to put a title on it, trying to name it so that I can become aware of it and then deal with it and move on. And the
that's
calmness,
interesting. So interesting you say that because I think a lot of people right now are thinking in terms of I need to figure it out so I can move on. We need to figure it out so we can move on. I don't know if that's possible right now, Mr. Andy. Like
yeah,
that in the past, that is how we've operated on this planet psychologically, and even sort of spiritually, like figure it out, untangle it, move on. I'm not saying that we can't do that eventually, but I actually think right now, which is maybe why it feels so disorienting, we actually have to sit in it until everybody's in the same place.
well, and that the phrase I was going to use is, yeah, not sit in it. We have to stay and fight,
Mm.
because at this point, and
Yes.
maybe fight,
Yeah, if depending on how you're looking at that. The way that
right,
I'm looking at it versus how you're looking at like the track I'm taking right now is more from a collective standpoint of growth. Um,
right.
Fighting has nothing to do with growth. Like we can't be in that state of fighting, right? Like that's not the track I'm taking. I'm saying, okay, because I know from Generation X and the way we were raised, and it was always take care of this, move to the next, take care of this, move to it was a constant, you're constantly on the treadmill of achieve and
Right.
knock it out of the park. And then what's the next thing? Knock it. Like that is how we've been trained.
No. You built your own house. You were a contractor, so it's like we all have a punch list. Okay, I'm done with that. Check
Yes.
it off. Move to the next one.
And that is part of the patriarchy and part of the control grid that we have been raised to believe is normal. I don't think that that is how it's going to get done. I don't think that's how we're meant to ride through this time. That is very disorienting to people because to have to sit in when things are stirred up, you're in the middle of this whirlpool and you just want out. Like, what do I have to do to get out of this whirlpool or hellhole or whatever you want to call it? Lots of
Whatever analogy, it could be, for some people, it could be feel like a quicksand that you're beginning to sink in
yeah, but I
quicksand.
mean, you just want out. Like I
Right.
want out. I want to figure this out and I want to get out. Sorry, I'm trying to turn my heater back on. All of a sudden getting cold again. Um and I'm not trying to bring bad news. However, I think we have to understand that we are going to have to learn how to sit in it for a time.
I don't think that's bad news. That first of all, for folks that have been with you for a while, a couple of years, you were talking about this 2 years ago. So, you know, the folks that have had the pleasure of being part of Hidden Wisdom and Charmed Life know of what you've been speaking. So we're aware of what may be ahead and understand that we've got a whole lot to go through because your numbers are talking about things beginning to look a whole lot better in 2028. And we're sitting here in January of 2026 right now.
Yeah. Can you hear that rumbling?
No.
Oh, thank God. My heater, for some reason, sounds like it's trying to take off. It's it's vibrating very loudly.
So the question, I guess, I could start with, since I do know, and I'm a part of Hidden Wisdom and Charmed Life, and listen to your insights. How do we get from January of 2026 to 2028 and keep our
Mhm.
wits about us?
And keep our wits about us. I think the most important thing that any of us can do right now is to figure out where our triggers are, where our patterns are stuck, which takes self examination, right? Where our blind spots are. All those things matter, especially right now. And part of the distraction with everything happening and coming unwound so rapidly and nonstop makes it difficult for that self-examination, especially if you're in survival mode or you're panicked and you're appalled by everything going on. But those are the things we actually need to do, because if you can identify your triggers and become aware of what they are and begin working through them and working through your fears, you actually have more ability to show up and sit in things when it's all stirred from a place of calm.
No, we all have individual triggers that we're working through. I know I am, because we work through it every week. But
Yeah.
is there, in your estimation, is there a common trigger that we almost all have when it comes to our patterns?
I wouldn't say I don't think that that blanket thing can be applied. No, because everybody has a different perception and we're all uniquely reacting to life based on our own experiences and how we perceive those experiences, how we kind of worked our way through life and survived those experiences, and what we learned from them, what we didn't learn from them, and then what society told us. So no, I never want to say that we all have a bunch of common triggers. There are common triggers that show up with fear. There's some commonalities that come along with fear. Like most of us, when we're in reaction mode, it is because we're trying to avoid some fear, some loss, some unexpected misfortune, abandonment, but common between people, not necessarily. Common
Yeah,
between families, yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, that's probably true.
Seriously, but not everyone within the family. Funny enough, I mean, you've seen it within your own brothers and sisters. Like within a family, each one of the siblings has their own damn experience, and the parents have their own experience. And so while there may be some common triggers because there's common programs, every person has their unique way of seeing things and walking through things. So, yeah.
The one thing that I think that we all sort of agreed on maybe a couple, 2, 3 weeks ago, and you brought it up, and we all sort of shook our heads or commented, was that we were all beginning to feel like we were frozen.
Yes. That's a common, I mean, being frozen, fight, flight, freeze. or
Yeah.
fawn. That's a common response to trauma. And I mean, I don't think people realize we are being traumatized daily. There's
Purposely.
no way that we were meant to have to go through the things we're seeing happening in our country, in our world on a daily basis. We were not meant to see all of that. Whoever's on TikTok, y'all are tapping that screen and liking it. I really appreciate it. And for those of you just joining on YouTube and Facebook, if you would put a comment in, like the stream, share it out, let us know you're here in the comments. I would greatly appreciate that because, yeah,
And
we need to know you guys can see and hear. We've got
we'd
it
love
all in one place tonight. We've got
we'd
TikTok
love the
on here.
feedback too.
Yeah, we would like the feedback. If the volume's okay, y'all can see, you can hear, and jump into the conversation. And if you have stuff that you want to unknot, you want to untangle, you've been worried about things, you are welcome to call in. We can pop up onto the screen. You can either scan that QR code or in a browser this, type in this, what am I trying to say? Website address.
Yeah.
I know
The
it's
link.
difficult if you're watching on your phone. I get it. But if you just go to studio.restream.io / and then EUO hyphen JVSU hyphen XZF, that is how you get into our dashboard on here, and we can have a live conversation, walk you through some of your stuff.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
And being frozen obviously isn't a trigger. It's a state that we all appear to be in. And as you said, since we're all dealing with it differently, how we come out of it is also going to be different. But
Yeah.
how does one even begin when you have reached the point where you know that you're frozen or stuck or whatever way you want to, whatever terminology one wants to use?
Well, the people that are getting stuck in freeze mode, feeling paralyzed because they're exhausted, the first thing I say is honor your body. Like, don't fight it. If you are feeling so overwhelmed, you got to go to sleep. Go to sleep. Take a nap. But make a time limit. Don't stay there because that then quickly turns to depression. If you recognize that you've been in freeze mode before, or maybe you've been in freeze mode for a very long time, and you're not sure what decisions to make, I say reach out to people that you know that can hold space for you. Reach out to a community that can hold space for you.
How
But
do
then
you
it's a
know?
matter of figuring out, what are you really afraid of?
I guess, and you and I went through this when you were coaching me, because I was obviously, and you knew this, and very gently nudged me out of it. I was very comfortable with where I was. I wasn't unhappy, um, but through your guidance and your coaching, I discovered that there was more there for me should I choose to get out of my lane and challenge myself. But how does one know that? And maybe it just
Sometimes
comes
you
back
have
to
to
you have to
yeah,
be honest with yourself.
you do, but sometimes even because look, Andy, you and I have worked together now for a few years, um, both privately and in a group, and there's layers to it. You know this, and even with the best of intentions, even with your best intentions to go through this process of waking up, of understanding, of evolving, it's not as easy as just deciding, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to grow. Like, it's hard to see your own patterns.
Right. And very often it's one step forward, two steps back. I have a moment of clarity where I realize something and I go, wow, that's a breakthrough. But the next thing you know, I'm even a little further back than I was when I had that moment of clarity.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I don't know if we're just not seeing comments. They're not like I've got, and I know last time on Restream, some of the comments came through, but some of them did not on YouTube. I don't know if you guys are able to comment over on Facebook and YouTube. Let us know. Same with I see Angelica and Kathy and Tommy. over on TikTok, throw in a comment, you guys, so we know you can hear and you can see. I don't want to have to log in on my computer either and screw up the stream. Just out of curiosity. we are trying to get all of this technology to work and to hold.
And it's only week 2, and you're trying to merge all the different platforms and make it seamless, and
Hey,
it
but we
eventually
did
will
it.
get there. It's just a function of, and obviously it would work faster if we were doing more than once a week, but that's a different consideration. It's like riding a bike, right? If you get on the bike and you practice every single day, the process quickens. If you're riding your bike only once a week, well,
Well, we could not do it last weekend because of the storm. It was very
yeah,
cold.
that little thing called a storm.
I mean, and it wasn't like horrible here, but it was freezing, and I did not want to put a strain on our very fragile grid because we were having warnings about not having enough power. I did not want to come out here in my office and have to warm the dang thing. Um, I didn't really want to today either. I've only been out here a couple times this week. I've been working from my laptop in my very cozy room, so I didn't have to heat this out here. But I am here tonight, and I am here for you guys. Like, we could talk about whatever you guys want.
I mean, depending where you are in the country, um,
It's freezing.
yeah, it's cold. How are you dealing with it? Are you basically shut in? Like, I mean, at one point last weekend, 2/3 of the country was dealing with what you were dealing with, while I'm here in Las Vegas. And like I said, today it was 75 degrees here. It was beautiful.
It got into the 50s today, but it was still felt like it was in the 40s because of the cold air.
Yeah.
And tonight it's dropping to 26. So,
Oof.
yeah.
And yeah, how long is that cold spell supposed to last? Because and is this one packing
It's
anymore?
supposed to start warming up again, I think, on Monday. Like,
Hmm.
it's supposed to start to climb again into the 60s on Monday. I'm hopeful because I'm not a cold weather friend. Like, I don't want the cold. And I don't know where everybody's watching from, but I feel for some of you that have to deal with this cold. Like, I'm not okay when it's cold.
I often say with the because I do the e-commerce stuff, so I have to do occasionally go out to deliver, the packages and stuff. But I often say to my customers, when it gets cold, at least you can layer up. In Las Vegas in the summertime when it's 110, 113, you have the same thing in the part of Texas you live. You can't escape the heat at some point, whereas with the coldness, you can layer up and
You get
find some
used to it,
warmth.
though. I mean, you do get used to the heat. There is a certain point at which, in the sun and the heat, high temperatures, there's no saving grace. I mean, you got to have shade and you got to sit still.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyhow.
But I mean,
So you got me here. What do you guys want to ask? And if any of you guys want to call in, that is the um we've got the website address on the stream for you to call in, or you just scan that QR code above Andy's head.
yeah,
That's how you get into us.
the whole concept of unknot is to untangle things. So there are a lot of
I'm really good at it with people. Like, I'm really good at spotting patterns. And going back to what we were talking about with Andy. Andy's worked with me for a few years now since my aunt died. He was my aunt's partner. And well, after he got through the deep part of his grief, we started to work together. And he's in my Charm Life program and my Hidden Wisdom community. So I get the chance to coach with Andy in our group, and it's always fun for me to watch because he's fairly newly awakened. What
yes,
did we he was kind of a Mr. Magoo, just plodding through life before thinking everything's fine. And I
yep,
don't say that to be rude or mean. I mean, literally, he thought his life was good. Let's go to work. But then when my aunt died, his purpose for living kind of was, he didn't know what to do. It was
no.
about her.
And the truth be told, the Mr. Magoo analogy is the analogy I use. It wasn't something that you know, described me as. That's how I describe myself. going through life, that all the other stuff that was could have affected me, I was just either totally oblivious to it or just didn't pay attention to it, like Mr. Magoo. And if
Yeah.
if you're old enough to have seen the cartoon when you were a kid, like I was old enough, it was a part of morning cartoons and the weekend cartoons. You know what I'm talking about? The way Mr. Magoo lived his life. The whole world around him was swirling, and he was just happy-go-lucky, just going through life.
And I'm not saying, I mean, that's not really a problem. There's a lot of people that have been in that Mr. Magoo kind of mindset of just, head down, get it done. Um, but then started to wake up. Hello, Harmageddon. So it's interesting because I know for you too, like recognizing patterns and habits and routines and things that aren't necessarily serving you have been pretty useful and helpful for you.
Yeah. Once I realized that, yeah, because one of my and I, you're not a big fan of cliches and phrases, but one of my favorite ones, obviously, is repetition's the mother of skill. And there are lots of things that I have done so frequently, so long, that they're almost part of my muscle memory, whatever the habits may be. So, what I
Hmm.
originally thought may have been a good behavior to have when it first began probably doesn't serve me well today, where I am and what I want to be. And that's the part that you've been able to get me to very slowly unpeel the onion and pull it back and go, you know what? You're right. That's not where I need to be if I want to go forward and grow. And for me, because I'm very comfortable and have been for a very long time, my relationship with Maylee was 45 plus years. Um, Once that got dissolved, you're right. I was standing in, not in a pool or in a puddle, but maybe that's the analogy of, what's next and how do I get myself out of this and how do I move forward? And I'm still going through that process. You know that because we talk about it every week, and there are pieces of it and moments of clarity that pop up that give me some insight into why I thought that or why I felt that way. And it all goes back to probably my childhood. We're beginning to delve into that a little more frequently about, being the middle child and being the kid that at least I thought, was not the one anybody wanted to play with. So all those things impact, and we've peeled the layers off very slowly to where it makes sense.
Everybody goes their own pace, though. I think that's the brilliance of personal work is we can go our own pace. But the one thing I really want to stress to everybody right now is like everything's coming unraveled for a reason in our own personal lives. One of the things about February that I was seeing with putting the charts together is that politics are going to become very personal in the month of February. Now, I don't think anyone wants that. I don't think any of us want it. Like, I was never political until the last, certainly this last year, and then the first term, Donald Trump's first term, I became more outspoken about politics. Before that, I really could have cared less about getting involved in political conversations. But now it seems like there's no way to escape it. And as much as people don't really want to be faced with it, it is February is a time, and that was one of the notes I was taking for the hidden wisdom forecast for the month of February is politics are going to become very personal. Take that as you will. take that as you will, but that to me that means it is going to affect every single one of us, the policies of our leaders across the world. This is not even just the US, across the world. Politics are going to become very personal because our money is personal, our healthcare is personal, our safety, our security is very, very personal, you
Yeah.
know.
And I think the reason that Bernadette and I have such good conversations is because she comes from a world where she stayed away from politics, and I spent the last 40 plus years um, knee deep in it because that's what I do for a living. And
Yeah.
um, the politics has gotten personal because what we have very quickly discovered over the last 4 or 5 months is the one percenters feel the need to take everything away from the people that have been working so hard to provide those people that are the one percenters the livelihood they so richly enjoy. And we're
Yeah.
now awakening to that fact. And it's
Armageddon saying politics have to become personal. There are far too many monsters among us with monstrous policies,
yeah, I mean,
inhumane, non empathetic policies.
that's the blessing and the curse of politics. Until it happens to you, most of the time you're very oblivious. Somebody in your family gets murdered, and all of a sudden you're concerned about guns, or a
It's
drunk
true.
driver kills somebody in your family, and then DUIs become a major concern. When it touches you personally, then you get active. Uh, but we need to act sooner than that because, as you often say, Bernadette, when one person hurts, we all hurt. We can't wait for that hurt to become personal to us in order to grow a better society for us all.
I'm going to ask you guys a question that I probably got on Andy's nerves a little last night because um I was in a very reflective place. Not that I'm not always in that place, seems like I am. But my question that I really think we all want answered and that I think we need answered right now, and it can't come from just one of us, it has to come from all of us. What is that thing that you think has to happen for people? What is the one aha? What is the one new insight, new understanding that has to sweep the entire globe that changes everything? What is that one thing? What do you guys think it is? What do you think we need? Because literally, I think at this point, this has to be a global kind of wake up. We're all certain that I was telling him, like, I want to know what philosophical or theoretical understanding has to sweep the planet for us to shift gears and change course for humanity. Because right now, humanity is all over the place. As Reagan and Tip O'Neill once agreed, all politics is local. Yeah, well, that's the truth. So, guys, put it in the comments. I want to know, what do you think? Or call in. Let's talk about this because honestly, I want perspectives from the rest of you. I'm sure those of you who are spiritual, who are awakening, y'all do have some reflection and some perspective on what you think it's going to take for us to change gears. Humanity, I mean. And like I was explaining to Andy last night, like we are the only species on this planet that does not live in harmony with the laws of nature. Humans. We're the only ones that do not live in harmony with nature, period.
And I think at the end of our 2 hour conversation yesterday, I think the one thing that we did agree on is it's a control issue with us. And it's primarily driven by the patriarchal setup that has permeated the globe as opposed to matriarchal. And because we've had these conversations, I grew up in a household in which my mom and my aunties didn't outwardly control the circumstances. They were smart enough to know that the culture and the setup was the males were the head of the household. But they were smart enough that, and as a kid observing this, I knew who were the bosses in those households, and it was my mom and my aunties. And I think because it was run that way, I'm 66 and I've got great relationships with all my cousins. And I'm on speaking terms with my 90-year-old auntie. that's something, if my dad and my uncles honestly ran the families like most people think they do, I don't think the way our family was set up would have been as successful, as loving, and as connected as we all are. All my cousins and me at this juncture of our lives, we're still well connected. And I thank God that I was blessed that way, because until and you and I have had this conversation, I grew up in what I call a protective bubble. And I didn't realize that the way I grew up was not the way everybody else grew up until I went to
Well, you
college and
also
I met
grew up
people.
on Oahu, which in and of itself is a bubble. It's an island. I
It's
mean,
the most isolated piece of rock on the face of the earth. If you look at the map in the middle of the Pacific, you are correct. And I grew up at a time in which we didn't have satellite technology, we didn't have cell phones, so we were isolated. And yeah, you had to figure out, and family was very important. You didn't have all the distractions that we now have. I can't imagine trying to grow up in this day and age with all the distractions that one has to deal with. So yeah, it was a very fortuitous time to be a kid growing up, and I look back on it very fondly, and I appreciate it very.
I mean, like I wrote in my book, when I was a little kid in 3rd grade, the latchkey kids in California living in Orange County, in El Toro, like we literally stayed home all summer long, unsupervised, with pools in our backyards, and all kind of stuff. We walked to the little liquor store, which is what they were called. Convenience stores back then were called liquor stores. They don't call them that now. They call them something more politically correct. We all walked there to get candy and snacks with our allowance, and all the neighborhood kids pooled all their money together to see how much we could get. And we weren't worried about getting stolen. We weren't worried about problems.
Right.
You
And,
were you were okay walking a mile and a half away, 2 miles away to go get snacks with your friends, and everyone knew parents didn't come home till 6 o'clock
right. And in the neighborhood I grew up in, it was always, get out, come back when the sun goes down,
when the
and that's what
lights
it.
are on. Yeah, when the
Yep.
street lights come on, it's time to go home.
You better be home by the time the street lights go on, and you
But
were
you know
told
what?
to go
We were
out and play.
resourceful. We learned how to build crazy ramps and create all kinds of things. We were very good at, if someone got hurt, saving them and getting some adult to come do something, and we were good at not causing problems, or at least not getting caught. I guess we caused problems, we just didn't get caught.
Yeah.
And
Or
I wonder where that resourcefulness and resilience has gone, because we need it back. We literally need that back, I think.
I yeah, I wish, there was one point in time you could point to. I think it's over time, because the town I grew up in, which is a very small town, and everybody knew everyone. It was one of those towns. And everybody looked out for each other to the extent, that if one of the neighbors thought me or my brothers or sisters did something wrong, you know, my mom and dad would hear about it from the neighbor and we'd be in trouble.
Right.
Flip that script. Today it becomes, when you get in trouble in school, the parents go and challenge the teacher and defend their kids. But I grew up and I was always told, you better not get in trouble with your teacher or the principal, or you're going to have trouble with me when you get home.
Yeah.
So, um,
Armageddon saying we basically raised ourselves. That's Gen X for you. Yeah, it is Gen X. Gen X is good. And I've seen a lot of Gen Xers waking up during this time to understand that the bill of goods that we've been sold is bullshit, that there's more to this planet and this universe than we were taught and then religion allows for. Um, and I think we all got the benefit of some really abundant, peaceful times. And now we're going backwards. Now we're going back to before we were even, before we had to experience the kinds of things. We're going back to our parents' era. We've got to do something, but I'm curious what you guys think that thing is. I've asked Spirit, I'm like, Spirit, answer the question, like, show me, tell me, what is the understanding that we all have to come to? What philosophy do we need to wake up to or to practice that is going to change the direction of the trajectory that humans have been on, that have made it so destructive, so individualistic, and somewhat selfish, because we have an epidemic of narcissism as well. And that has risen dramatically over the last 15, 20 years. And we're seeing it in our leadership across the globe, not just here, like across the globe. Narcissism has risen, and those who practice it, live it, certainly are emboldened, along with a lot of their supporters and followers. And it wasn't like narcissistic behavior was not rewarded like it is now.
No. And what I find very interesting is that the Heritage Foundation and their plan 2025, they want to take us back to a time, at least in the world that I grew up in and the world that my parents grew up in, never really existed. What they want to send women back to, head of household, it controls everything. You guys have no vote at all. They want you barefoot and pregnant, basically. That
And
is,
married. And if
yeah,
you're
and
not
married. And if
married,
you don't do
you
it by
gotta
a
go to
certain
some
age,
marriage camp.
yeah. That's a world, at least my world that I grew up in and my parents grew up in, never existed.
Mm-mm.
So for them to want to take us back to a world that they think would be idyllic, I find fascinating and
But
bizarre
that
at the
was
same
their
time.
plan in the 40s. This is like a reawakened plan from the time of the Mustache Man. Literally, they wanted that whole time that we had to live through, not us. They literally wanted a superior race on the planet,
Right.
and when he was defeated and that was taken care of, we went into a period of peace, false peace for sure. We never truly, um, I don't think, ever truly got rid of those things because they just went into hiding. Pat saying the 1% have plenty of assets to survive it. The thing is, and we were talking earlier, like I was building the astrological profile for February. And even in the month of February, Pat, I'm happy to say, like, that starts the energy of it not being popular to be at the top tier with all the money. And as we continue through the year, the one thing I will say to you guys, it is up to us to keep pushing, because February can go either direction. Just like I told you, February and March, we have to push, 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 because April comes and that's when things either lock in one direction or the other.
I think we're going to see, in reference to Pat's one percenter, we're going to see more general strikes because people are beginning to realize it's you and me and Pat and the rest of the people that made the one percenters possible. And they need to recognize if we decide to put our hands into our pockets and not spend the money anymore, the one percenters are not going to be very comfortable. And the general strike that happened this past Friday was indicative of that. What the Jimmy Kimmel situation, where people literally overnight cost Disney $4 billion when they decided to cancel their Hulu and Disney and all the cruises, everything that was connected with Disney. It shows the economic power we have as individuals. We make individual decisions, but those individual decisions become millions of individual decisions, and it shows the 1% that we're really the ones that hold the power.
Well, with the layoffs Amazon and UPS did, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Volumes. Pat saying yes. Hey Ashley, what's up, girl? So yeah. Harmageddon saying that there must be a general strike once a week at least. I say we do it until they freaking listen. Like, I'm not for one and done. I'm for sustain it for as long as we
I,
can, or take shifts. Sustain it.
I,
Because
I've,
the stuff
I've
they're
come to
doing
that.
right now is dangerous.
I've come to that realization because you do it for a day, that's just an irritant to those guys, and they have money that can sustain them. It's got to be sustained,
Yeah.
and you're right. Maybe we have to do it in shifts, but if we affect the economy by 2 or 3% on a consistent basis,
Right.
that is going to flip the script for these guys. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be
No,
massive.
I think if you have teachers walk out for a week, nurses walk out for a week after that, delivery drivers walk out for a week after that, truckers not delivering for, like, we need to sustain it. If we were to roll it that way, I don't think they'd be able to keep this shit up. I just don't.
No,
You
I would
know,
agree.
right
It's not.
now they think they can just ignore it. I
Yeah,
don't know if you've been watching, if you guys have been watching what's going on in LA and what happened last night. Did you see the videos from LA?
I did not.
The protesters in Los Angeles they moved this huge, um not those construction site trash things. They literally
Yeah.
moved it to the front of this where the police were. Then they set it on fire. You put fire inside. One of those big construction
Upstairs. Yeah,
dumpsters. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. They're not letting down. They're not backing down. My wife would never walk out. Yeah. Well, I get it. Hey, Stabby Unicorn, what's up? All the TikTok people must have gotten their notifications finally. We're only 50 minutes in.
It's about right, about the first hour, and then when you hit the first hour, that's when things really begin to cook. So
Yeah.
you're on track, but it needs to be sustainable so that they get the message that they are not honestly they are not the ones in control.
They
We
do
are the
need
ones that made all of those guys rich.
Well, um, this is true. I think we're going to have to make some sacrifices. But like I said, I think the biggest part of what needs to change right now on an individual basis, we've got to stop focusing on our own individual desires.
Hmm.
Pat saying 30 days. It would take probably. I mean,
At
I don't
least.
know. I
Yeah.
think if it was done in shifts, where you had a couple different industries going on a strike every single week and sustaining it, everybody took their rightful turn to get out there. And it was an every single day kind of thing. And the kids went on strike and the grocery store clerks went on strike. Like, at that point, you can't ignore it. You do it for one day. Yeah, you get the massive numbers for one day. It doesn't matter. Does not matter.
And depending on how much coverage you saw of what the Minnesotans did on Friday, it's a good starting point because the stories that I saw and the coverage that I saw, they planned it. And the businesses that shut down for the day, they
Right.
paid their employees and they still went to work and they were creating food for the protesters. So they were out there freezing their asses off and they got coffee and they got donuts and the whole community got behind it. Even the businesses understood why they were shuttering for the day to make a point that they are impactful and that they make a difference and their sense of community. And it proves the point that we're talking about that when you get together and do it that way, the sense of community is invigorating and it's
Yeah.
contagious and you want to sustain that energy. And you and I, Bernadette, have talked about this, and maybe it's because I grew up in a household where or in a family where the women were so prominent. I constantly talk about, if you're looking at the one percenters, if you look at the former wives of the one percenters, they're the ones that are leading by example. Mackenzie Scott, who used to be
She's
married
an
to Jeff
ex.
Bezos.
She's an ex to the one percenter, though.
Yeah, but my point is, they are setting the example. Mackenzie Scott took her money and is using it for the better good of everybody. She hired a bunch of people to do research for her, and when she comes across a organization or a plan or a program that she likes, she sends them a check. It's that simple. No strings attached. She doesn't need to know. She doesn't need to be acknowledged. She's not putting her name on the side of a building when she gives people checks. She just wants them to do what they're doing and keep doing it. Steve Jobs' widow, Lauren Powell Jobs, took Steve Jobs' money and bought The Atlantic. If you read The Atlantic and you appreciate the articles there and the intelligence and their coverage, you have her to thank for it because she's bankrolling The Atlantic.
Yeah.
Those are matriarchs. Those are the women that are helping sustain our community.
I was happy to hear Lady Gaga at her concert the other day brought up Minnesota. She's actually speaking loudly about it. I don't think there's enough quote unquote celebrities that are speaking up against this administration. I don't think there are enough of them. I really don't. Pat's saying everyone could stock up prior to it. I exactly. Everyone could stock up, but also um, it makes us all have to organize together as well, which is the point. You know, a big part of this is needing to organize. One of the concerns I do have, if you're not in my hidden wisdom and you guys want the full forecast of what's going to happen as we go through this year, because there's some pivotal shit happening, and I'm not going to tell everybody in here. Like, I work hard on those forecasts, so that is for my hidden wisdom people. But I will tell you, part of the forecast for hidden wisdom, as I was pulling the astrology and the energy for the month of February, does have to do with a lot of economic uncertainty and problems in the upcoming month. We've got some shock and awe delivered. And this is not just the US. You know, I focus mainly on the US because I think all of our people right now are in the US, but we have to organize. We have to get ready because technology is going to be hit too in the upcoming months. You know, and I've told you guys, like, the grid's going to have issues. They're going to mess with the internet and the communication systems multiple times through this year. And we have to have ways that we are still communicating with one another, you know, and organizing locally.
And you and I are, big believers in energy and frequency and sound waves, and we think that those guys out there are fiddling with that stuff and trying to change our moods
They
or
brought the LRAD out
yeah.
for the protesters. They brought the LRAD out, you know, which is a sound frequency weapon. So like I said, like, it always shocks me when people are like, I don't really believe in energy work. And I'm like, really? And frequency work? I'm like, they use that stuff as weapons. How do you not believe in it? Like,
I've never.
okay.
That's the other little piece that logically I never quite understand. When I mean, we walk around with a cell phone where the use of energy, we can go from one part of the world, bounce it off a satellite, and we have a conversation with somebody all the way over on the other side of the world on my personal instrument. And you don't think we can figure out a way to use that frequency and that energy against other people
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a
and
wireless
pinpoint it?
device and it's traveling to your specific phone number, which is an identifier. It has an identifier. Every one of us within our DNA has an identifier that only we carry, right? We each have a frequency signature. So when doing any kind of energy work, long distance or in person, doesn't matter from the quantum perspective. The quantum field and entanglement perspective doesn't matter where you are. Energy works. But when people tell me things like, I don't really know if I believe in Rife or, biomagnetism, which I was watching this thing the other day. They were talking about gravity, and I'm like, is it gravity, or is it that there's a huge magnet in the middle of this earth and we are biomagnetic creatures? And you disturb that magnet in the earth, gravity kind of gets wonk. And I'm not a scientist. These are just things that go through my mind. But I am a healer, and I do work with biomagnetism therapy, and I do work with scalar and Rife and all those things that literally create massive shifts. Andy's sister and her partner came to see me not that long ago for magnets and Rife. And
And
his
they
sister,
immediately felt better, both of
yeah,
them.
yeah, his sister passed out. I mean, she was just gone in 30 seconds. From the time the first set of magnets went on, she just started to get sleepy. She fell asleep. I had to wake her up when it was times was up. But she sent me a message and she said, yeah, I put some magnets on her when I was working on her partner the first time. And she said that her arthritis in her hand and her finger, because she broke it, was real bad. She said she had no pain. And then we did more work specifically for her when she came to see me. She said she's doing a lot better. So it's always cracks me up. I'm going to go back to communicating with people through tin cans and twines. For real.
It really is, and I use this phrase a lot, when you and I talk. The simplest explanation is always the answer. I mean, Einstein used to talk about that all the time, that our quest to find an answer, it's always going to be the simplest one. And whatever you're doing, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, then you don't really understand what you're doing. I mean, everything should be basically, reduced to its simplicity in order for it to work.
I like working in simplicities. I've always been one that really never understood why in the helping fields people feel the need to be overly intellectual in explaining things, especially from the standpoint of something that affects your body, your mind, your emotions. It needs to be simple. It really needs to be simple. When it gets too complex, it becomes too intellectual, analytical. It loses all of its resonance. People can't figure it out.
Well, but you've told the story numerous times about why that's been creative by, the Rockefellers and the Standard Oil folks of the world, in order to, create the layers and create the experts and take away the responsibility of you taking care of yourself and popping the pill.
Totally.
Because, if you can heal yourself, Big Pharma doesn't have a customer.
Yep.
And that's all they care about, is being able to sell you medicine. If you can heal yourself through frequency, through better diet, through exercise, and you don't have to go see a doctor, you're not a customer for them. And that's all they
No,
care
they
about.
continually bury that stuff. But that's also like if you put all of this into a bucket or a dump truck, because at this point it would be a freight train or a dump truck. Like there's so many issues that you start to look at things they've suppressed: free energy, cures to cancer, terrorizing and ruining our food, all these things they've done that create more of the prison that we seem to be living in, the control grid that we are operating under, the money system, the constant treadmill of the stuff that we're doing. If we put that into a truck and went, all right, here's all the issues that need to be cleaned up, because this is not a small list. The people at the top that are doing policies and getting away with things. I mean, that was part of this new term that Dumpy Pants is in, is get rid of the regulations so that all of the rich ones can do whatever they want and not be penalized, and no oversight, and make as much money as they want. They are laying off all these people, and yet they are still posting record profits. How is that? How is that okay?
It's not.
You can blame it on AI, but I can tell you right now, AI is not that smart. It is
It's
not because of AI. And if you're banking on AI, AGI, robotics, and AI aren't, it's not that good yet.
no. And if you really want to see how it's done well and efficiently, it's not us. You look to the Chinese. The
But they
Chinese,
aren't even laying people off like we are.
no, they care about, the narrative that we've created over the last 50, 60 years about the Chinese and the communists and who they are and what they stand for. That narrative has stilted us because while we have believed that they were the big enemy, they have very calmly over the last 50 some odd years moved, depending whose numbers you believe, between 400 million and 800 million out of poverty. There are no homeless people in China. Everybody has an income and a place to live, and they have responsibilities and gainful employment. They
They've got problems too. They're not perfect,
they
but they
do, but
certainly have risen rather quickly because of their diligence and their long term vision. But the thing is, we've gone the opposite direction. Like Chris Rock said, they don't cure shit. What they will do is patch you up, get you to the next stop so you can come back and give them more of your money. And that's the one thing that I think we have to demand that stops. It is going to take the nurses, the doctors, the dentists, the scientists to come together into the community, back into just the people, not the corporations, and do the right thing because it's the right thing. Heal because it's the right thing, right? Like, go back to the barter and trade. And if you think about what these billionaires, what do they have that we want? What do they actually have? If you strip away the money, the bank account, what do they have that we want? I want nothing from Elon Musk. I want nothing from Bezos.
no, yeah, Musk, Bezos, you know,
Any of them.
Zuckerberg,
Yeah. Any of them. I don't really, there's
well,
nothing I want from them.
and flip the script. Look at them and why, if they think that what they're doing is so good, not only for themselves but for the community at large, why do they feel the need to build these massive compounds with bunkers underneath them to protect themselves from the citizenry? Or
I don't know.
Zuckerberg's got a massive compound on the island of Maui where he tried to cordon off the beach and make it private. And that's their mentality. They want to shut everybody else off once they have gotten their goods.
Yep. Absolutely, Pat. Their grade school education programs are leaps and bounds above us. Um, and they've got pressure. They definitely have some room to grow when it comes to priorities, but I think they're doing better in a lot of areas than we are, and they're not poisoning their people. This is about whatever we want to talk about, rocks. Like, this is a call-in show, so nobody's calling in. We're just talking about what we want to talk about. And I know you and I don't agree with politics, so I understand. Have a good night. Too many doctors, nurses, professionals have perpetrated to do the profitable thing instead of doing the right thing. And that's the thing that I honestly think is coming into focus in the next few months. And what all of 2026 is kind of asking us to decide. Are you going to continue the way of letting profit be the driver? Or are you all going to come together and put humanity first?
Right.
We've been
But there are
heading that direction all of 2025, but people are not demanding it at the level at which we need to demand it.
or
Not
becoming
just for
aware
ourselves, for all of life.
because or becoming aware. Awareness becomes the issue, like you always say, because there are doctors and nurses and that are practitioners of functional medicine, which is the growing area of medicine these days, where they deal with the whole being. I mean,
Yeah, but
You've
they're
told,
super expensive. The one thing I will say about functional medicine, functional doctors and clinics, they are not affordable for everybody. And I
no,
honestly think it's going to come to a point where we've got to have, I've set myself up knowing what's coming and what the economy is going to do to be able to help people with natural choices, whether it's acute or chronic, and knowing that there's going to come a time when we're not exchanging money. You got a dozen eggs and you need something cool. Let's go.
yeah.
You know,
I
there's
mean,
and it's going to have to be like that
I mean,
because the
you tell the
money system's
story.
fallen.
I mean, you tell the story about your grandmother who you never met and how she was the healer in the
Yeah.
village.
Yeah.
I mean, that's to a certain extent, depending where you live, and that's been poo-pooed by big pharma and the people that thought you have to have an expert or you have to have a doctor with all this knowledge and all this other stuff. So much of what we do for ourselves is pretty simple. It really
Armageddon
is.
saying people have to face themselves and their guilt in order for real change to occur. I don't think that's necessarily true. I have faith beyond that. And like I said, my thought is this, and I want you guys to think about this and meditate about it or pray about it or journal about it or do whatever and put your comments in. Like, has to be a new understanding, a new insight, a new um, bit of knowledge that shifts and everybody hits that, oh, I get it, to make us change directions. And enough of us, it doesn't have to be every single body, like, but to hit mass consciousness and make that turn in society, it does have to be a large number of people. And then it takes off like wildfire, like the 100th monkey. What is that? What do you guys think that is? I mean, I have my own thoughts on it, but I certainly don't have oh, that's it. I certainly don't have that yet. But I am every day journaling about it, asking spirit, reveal it, reveal it. What do we need to know that we have not been able to see, we have not been taught, we have not had access to on this planet that makes everybody wake up and understand this is the path forward in a different way than we've ever done it before that will actually save us from complete destruction. If we continue on the path we're on, we are on the path of destruction here in the
And
US, but I mean,
and
other
and maybe
places too.
and maybe the starting point, and you and I had this conversation yesterday for a couple of hours. Maybe the starting point is because for me personally, that was, and as you coached other people, sometimes it's easier to start with the things you don't want or don't work. We know what's not working, which is just
We're
about
seeing
everything
more
right
and
now.
more of it now too.
Yeah. So if that has to be the starting point, then we need to start somewhere. Maybe that's the starting point. We know what we're doing right now is not working. So using the idea of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome. That's where we are. We know what we're doing is not working, so we need to figure out something else. We don't know what it is right now, but we know it's not this.
No, there's too many animals that have gone extinct, quietly disappeared. There's too many plant forms. I mean, I was looking through something the other day and I was like, wow, there have been a lot of plants and foods that have just gone away because we've screwed things up. We've deforested, we've exploited the land. I mean, look at what's happening to our reefs and the fish population and the sea life. Like we just for the sake of convenience and the sake of capitalism, we have destroyed a lot on this planet, and there has to be something that makes us wake up. What is it? What is that going to be? I know it's coming, and I know I wouldn't even be asking these questions if they couldn't be answered. I don't have the answer, but I'm telling you, these are the kinds of questions we have to be asking. What's it going to take for everybody to have enough, and for these really power hungry narcissists that are hell bent on war and reliving the same cycles over and over? What's it going to take to break this cycle and change the cycle? Because part of February's energy is very much about a cycle we've never lived through, ever.
And I think if we're being honest with ourselves, we can feel it coming. Maybe that's part of the
I
weirdness
can. I
that
don't know if you
we're
guys
talking
can.
about.
Maybe. Yeah. The transit we're hitting it with Saturn and Neptune on February 20th is a transit that has not happened in over 2,000 years. Like, Saturn and Neptune conjunct in Aries has not happened the way that it's happening with all the other stuff in life in over 2,000 years. The last time in 0 degrees, I should say that 0 degrees Aries, that is called an Aries point. This is like a once in a thousands of years transit that is happening on February 20th. It has not happened anytime in the recent. It came close, but it wasn't the 0 point degree. Anyone that has followed me for any amount of time knows I've talked about 0 point energy. 0 point energy is what the Spirit always taught me is the void. It is the place where everything is created. It is where everything goes to nothing. And it is that place of, in a lot of spiritual texts, it's nothing and yet it's everything all at the same time, right? That void. Out of that place comes everything that is created. We have a transit where Saturn and Neptune align in Aries at 0 degrees. They call it the Aries point. And there's a lot of disagreements. Some astrologers say it was over 2,000 years ago. Some astrologers say it was 7,000 years ago. I don't think anyone really knows. Trying to clock the ephemeris back that long when we can't even track our own history that long, that easily, is very difficult. But this is what I want you guys to understand. It has not happened. Not in 100 years, like thousands of years. Now, that means a new cycle of sorts is coming into being. The last time it came close, and not 0 in Aries, that didn't happen, but it was closer to that degree, was the time of the Civil War. So we had sort of a similar transit, but not a 0 point. 0 contains all numbers within itself, yes. And if you think about the zeros and ones of everything, the programming of everything, zeros and ones, right? The binary code. Out of the 0 and the ones come everything as well. It's created. Going into a 0 point in Aries, what does that mean? It means the end of something and the beginning of something else. That 0 and the 1 is the same thing as what we refer to as the Alpha and the Omega. So that is happening February 20th. What is it going to clear? And what is it going to give birth to? What is it going to create? The thing about Aries that I don't like, and I'm an Aries rising, but the thing that I don't like about Aries is a fiery planet. It's destructive. It represents war and aggression. We could have something that sparks holy hell on February 20th. We could.
And if you're a follower of Chinese astrology, we're going into the year of the horse. It's the year of the fire horse. And the last time that happened was 60 years ago.
Yep.
So it doesn't even really matter what sort of area you believe in. It's all sort of coming together. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen very quickly this year.
And I keep going back. This jumped out to me the other day when I was studying the Gnostic texts and I was listening to something. and it doesn't say this in the Gnostic text, but it does say it in the New Testament. Jesus said, I did not come to bring peace. I came to bring fire. Fire is destructive, but it also creates new things. Fire represents truth as well. And where are we? The year of the fire horse on February, what, 17th?
17th.
Yeah. 3 days before that. So all of these things are coming together at the same time, at the very same time. On top of that, there's like a stellium of planets moving into Aries and will be in that position for a few months. Like it is going to heat up. Things are going to heat up. And I don't mean from a temperature perspective. I mean from an attitude perspective. Was what for Israel? Like it's going to be an interesting month. I don't think it's going to be as draining as January was. January was holy hell overwhelming. I do still think that on the 9th we are going to get some sort of revelation and some sort of leak between now and the 9th, but right around the 9th we're going to get some sort of whistleblower leak or some sort of Snowden type leak, like something. Oh, is that for Israel? No, because, okay, look, you got to remember the Bible was changed. They did not include the Gnostic text. Jesus was an Essene. He was not like, he was talking about for everybody. He came with fire. He was like, I'm here to baptize you with fire. That other dude, that John dude, he's there to baptize you with water. Water represents emotions. Fire is literally, it's a purification. Fire represents purification, but it does represent truth and wisdom as well. Like think about what lights, when we light something on fire, it can be destructive, but he said, I didn't come for peace. I didn't come to bring peace. He came to shake it up. He came to burn down the systems and the structures that were lording over people. He was against the whole religious dogma of the day and the leaders. People were hungry. People were wanting someone to appear. People were suffering greatly. And the system didn't like it. But yeah, from my understanding of the Christos or the Christ consciousness energy, which a lot of people in the Western metaphysics understand it to be, that is the energy of fire and light. It's the illuminating. I would be very happy if there was an illumination that took place on the 20th. I would be so happy if the year of the fire horse brought in illumination, because I think people's blinders have to fall. There's also a ton of Aquarius energy during February. Yeah, like I said, there's a stellium of planets lining up. They're moving and moving rather quickly. Aquarius, Pisces, and then into Aries. So it's going to be interesting. He came to bring the sword of truth. Yes, true. Yep. It also means for us individually, just so you guys know, from an individual standpoint, we're all looking on the outside right now, but I can tell you one of the reasons I decided to do this live show, which so far we haven't had anyone call in live other than Cindy last time, the first time we did it. But part of the reason I wanted to do this is because I understand the amount of things that are going to surface into your own understanding about what holds you back, what keeps you stuck, what keeps you in patterns, what keeps you triggered. We all have to get beyond our own stuff in order to come together in a very powerful way and in our power. You know what I mean? In our true power of truth and in collective unity and harmony. And I'm not saying that to be fluffy. Y'all know by now I ain't fluffy. Nothing fluffy about me. I can deliver things with some humor, but anyhow, what do you think, Andy? I just babbled.
No, I think that was a great way to put a exclamation point on this week's show. I think it was a great way to get people to think about through the course of whatever happens this week to frame it properly so that when we get together next week, we all have notes we can compare with one another. And hopefully, some folks will want to join us. This is only week 2 of this conversation, and we want to continue it. So I think that was a great way to leave us all to. And I will say one thing, which I have attested to, and I think guys have a tendency not to do this. We love to talk, but most of us don't journal. The importance of writing your thoughts down, getting them out of your head so you can clear your mind and even think even more clearly and think better. I mean, I'm doing that now, and I used to think, no, I'm okay, I'm fine. Let the thoughts bounce around in your head, and I'll just arbitrarily grab one when I feel it's useful. But there is a reason that journaling works, and I
And
would
not on a computer, people.
no writing.
It
Yes, you're
has
right.
to be written.
Yeah,
Like in my Charm Life group, I make them do everything written because Spirit has flat out said over and over again there is a connection that happens kinesthetically when you write that you lose when you type. Which, why do you think they want us on phones and keyboards? You literally are losing some part of the connection between your
yeah.
heart, your mind, your spirit when you're just mindlessly typing. When you write, and if you pay attention to your writing, when you're journaling, it's interesting how, because years ago when I had my podcast, my other podcast, I had a writing analyst on, and we were talking about, and I said, I notice when I'm in a frustrated place and when I'm closed spiritually, my writing is very jagged. When I am very sort of overly excited about something, it's very floaty and lots of loop de loos. When I am in a very grounded place, it's not cursive at all. It's printed and it's very clean. Very interesting. When you start to pay attention, you can actually look at your writing in your journal and see how your emotional state changes from beginning to end in one just journal session. It's another one of those things. It's like, oh, by the time I'm at the end of it, I become more clear and it reflects in the style of my writing.
And that's probably the most important reason that we need to return cursive and teaching kids how to write back into the school. Because if they can't express themselves by writing something on a piece of paper, we're emotionally stunting them because they're unable to express themselves properly because they don't write anymore. You got kids that can't even write their own names.
Unfortunately, yeah, they're not pushing for that. You know, they're not put. As a writer, I can confirm that I'm more creative when I write on paper. Absolutely. I mean, when I got stuck on my book that took me 5 years to write, my own memoir, it wasn't until like closed everything down and sat down with a notebook and hand wrote the rest of the book to finish it. I couldn't type it. And I type very fast. A big portion of it starting out was on the keyboard. And then I had to finish it. I could not finish it until I got into my pad of paper and sat down in a weekend and was able to finish it. Just telling y'all, like, y'all need to write. Use that super simple tool because it's revealing too. It's very helpful. Anywho,
Thank you.
no, thank you for joining
This is
on.
fun. No, this is fun. I look forward to it every single week. And we've only been doing it a couple weeks. So, and I hope the folks that are listening decide to join actively.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Before we go, let me know. Because I'm still trying to figure out platform wise. Now, I was able to add TikTok tonight. Now, is that because it's a new owner? I don't know. We'll see once we close the stream down if it takes away my access again. I don't know. Hopefully it does not. It remains active because this is much easier than trying to stream on my phone. Everything's in one place and y'all are seeing the same things. But let us know if you like the Saturday night talks. Would you be willing to jump into the conversation and call in? Carla's saying this is very informative. Thank you. I'm glad. And look, if you guys don't want to call in, you can always send me a message for it because we're only doing UNKNOT on Saturdays. Like, it can be about health, it can be about relationships, it can be about career, it can be about money, it can be about personal growth, it can be about trauma, it can be about whatever you want it to be about. There's nothing off limits when it comes to walking you through and untangling the messes, right? I don't think there's anything I don't help people with when it comes to that because it's your life.
And not only people, we're talking about upwards of 50,000 people that you've helped
Over
through the course.
50.
Yeah.
We
Through the
stopped
course
counting at 50.
Yeah,
Once I
exactly.
hit
So,
that, I was like, I don't want to count anymore. We don't need to
yeah.
keep track anymore. That was my own personal, like, once I hit 50, and that was many years ago. That was probably over 10 years ago. It's a lot. Yeah. It's 50 and 20, I think 50 and 20 years. And I've been at it now, what, 30?
Mhm.
No. Well, if you include the horses and the stuff I did for people back then. But yeah, no. I mean, it was 50 before I even hit 20 years. It was a lot. Anywho, we would like to know if you guys like it. If not, like, I haven't put this on a podcast yet. We're still gonna build this, especially on YouTube. We've got to build the audience on it. So if you guys are not following on YouTube, you can either follow my Bernadette Gold page or my Gold Factor page. We're broadcasting on both. At some point, I'm going to have to make this a podcast for it to go anywhere on the other platforms like Spotify and Apple and all of those things. But I don't even want to make it a podcast till we've gotten the technology working properly and y'all are doing the thing. Had to get rid of TikTok. Yeah, I'm still not convinced. We'll see. Like, I haven't been posting much. My views are way low over there. But there's not, like, I'm not happy with Skylight either. Like, I don't think that they're up to task yet. I don't like the way their algorithm works. YouTube I like, but it's too big too. Like, I I'm not trying to be some YouTube star. You know what I'm saying? There's another site, Epic, I'm keeping an eye on. It's starting to build and it is live streams. But they don't have the people over there either. There's a lot of questions. I am a little concerned with February, y'all, about more censorship and potential banning. But if you guys follow me on the other platforms, you will always know what's going on. All right. Just saying. TikTok, it's, I don't know how much we can rely on it right now. I like it. I'll miss it, but I'm not enjoying it right now. And a lot of the creators that I follow are leaving. Only place you can see is it. You can't see me on Facebook, Carla? That's weird. I'm on Facebook and YouTube. That's really weird. Interesting. Good to know. Huh. Weird. That is weird.
That is weird.
Let me look and see who's watching on which platforms too. Yeah, for some reason my one of them has no viewers on it, which means they're not showing that stream. It's probably my business page because, or no, actually it's my personal page. Interesting. Huh. Well, we'll figure it out. I don't like the fact that they're suppressing on all the platforms. Like, I'm not going back over. I am broadcasting on Facebook, but I do a lot more lives on TikTok because it's easier. A and B because that's where I've been focused. But they aren't showing things right now. Yeah, I don't know either. I do not know either. We shall see. If we can get this TikTok showing. Yeah, you guys are on a different count. Um than I've got a count for who's on Facebook and YouTube right now. And then TikTok's on a whole separate whole separate count. Like TikTok doesn't integrate well with this restream. As far as
They
like your
don't.
chat's not coming into the chat bar either. I have to have a separate window open. You're seeing more than 5. Interesting. Yeah. Well, you'll learn. Well, we'll be back for UNKNOT next Saturday, barring any major changes or mishaps. Wherever you are right now in the United States and the world, like be warm. But honestly, I want you guys to think about it and then jump in and let's talk about it. Like, what do you not want anymore in this world? If you could design the world, what do you not want? And then what is it you want? We have to come together with like that. You guys should share with other people too. Like this idea, will it work? Could it work if we did ongoing rotating strike? General strike that certain groups rotated through, right? Would that work? Think about that. Have conversations in your communities. Bring it back. Feel free to message me. I want world peace too. I want the billionaires out of here. I want the corrupt politicians out. It's very, very interesting. There's a couple kids, and I call them kids, they're in their 20s, that are running for local office. And they're smart. Like they're smart. I like that the younger ones are getting involved. Like, love it. Basic health care for all. Yep. I want non-poisoned food. I want healthy food and free education. Pat saying, "Yep. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. Get rid of the nukes.
Yeah.
Free energy."
Write all that stuff down, Pat, and come back next week. Let's talk about
Everybody
it.
write it down. I mean,
Yeah.
these are the things we really have to look at. Like, we should not have to continue to do the things that we have been doing in such a not useful way, you know? They have me under gaming on this stream. That's interesting. Why would you have me under gaming? I just noticed that. It said topic gaming, other.
Okay.
I want us all to have what we want and need. We can't all have what we want, but I don't see a reason why we can't all have what we need. There are basic things that we need. Just basic things: food, shelter, health, clean water, education. Like there's just it's not that it's not asking that much. And I think we've just become accustomed to our governments failing us and being very selfish. And at this point, we have to know our demands and then we have to make our demands. So I'm telling you guys, figure it out. What do you want? They're talking about changing the 40-hour work week to 32. Okay, great. But a lot of companies don't even abide by the 40.
Yeah.
So what? This is all just shit on paper. That doesn't mean jack.
Yeah. To what end?
Yeah,
Why does it matter?
it doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it does not matter. So these are the things that we should talk about. We should be talking about. But if you guys want to talk about other things, especially topics, if you don't want to jump on the live next week, at least send a message in. Email it, Bernadette@BernadetteGold.com. Super simple to remember. Bernadette@BernadetteGold.com. Email me. Tell me what share your story with me, and I'll see what I can do. a lot harder when I can't directly talk to somebody. But if you guys bring yourselves up in the next few episodes, you don't have to have your video up. You can just be audio, and Andy can change your name before we bring you up so nobody knows who you are, which means any of you can get on with me and talk through whatever it is you need to talk through, want to talk through and get coached on. But my ask of everyone, if you do get on with me, be open and be ready, because I ask a lot of hard questions and very direct questions. I don't beat around the bush, but usually it'll get you clarity as long as you remain open. So we will see you guys next week. I'm sure I'll be on live, not for UNKNOT, but I'll be on live at some point later in the week on TikTok. Um, if they so let it me be, I will be. All right, you guys, have a good Saturday. Get some rest.